What weren't we nervous about? So the home is almost 100 years old. It was built in 1921 at the top of the street. And both Rachmaninoff and Van Cliburn had played in the home.
Well, when we bought this house, it needed to be renovated, and we always knew we were going to renovate it at some point.
The garage was on slab. Over a 30-year span, that garage had begun to move away from the home and was literally tearing the back of the house off. So if you looked at it from the side, you could see the back was bulging out. There was a large crack that had developed across the back of the home.
I was very nervous about the total cost of this renovation.
And we had received another bid for the house that was stratospheric. And I couldn't understand why it was so high and where those cost elements were coming from. I was very nervous about the cost and also the quality of what we expected for this home. James and I looked at a similar bid. For example, one of the items was our deck was 30 feet wide, and he asked if it would be okay if we went to 28 feet. And I said, of course. Why do you ask? He says, well, at 28 feet, you no longer require steel. We can do it with wood. That'll save you about $100,000. And that got my attention. I know what I don't know, and I want a builder who's going to tell me the facts and know what he's talking about. And then the mere fact that he was willing to spend so much time with us on the upfront value engineering to ensure that we minimize change orders in the future was a very big deal. My wife and I sat down, discussed it, and decided that nobody else talked to us like James did. He was completely transparent about his business, about the cost, about how he works. So I wouldn't have gone with anybody else, and I won't go with anybody else again. He's the best.
Because of my hours and my work schedule, I needed somebody who would maybe see me on the weekends, come by after hours, etc. And James, from the very beginning, was easy to arrange meetings. I think the first time we met him was on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole process, he always worked around my work schedule. It wasn't always 9 o'clock in the morning, etc. He was very flexible. I've never done a renovation before. I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know what we're doing. I didn't know anything going in, and I felt like James was very upfront with everything, kind of dummied it down so I understood what was going on, but he always made a point to reach out to me to tell us if we were delayed, if we're on schedule, what I need to do, etc. And I thought it was just a very easy process all around, and that is why I wanted to go with James.
Yeah.
Every time we came over here, the house was maintained. We wanted to make sure that the property was nice.
The work site was always clean. I actually saw them fire some staff for smoking when they weren't supposed to be, which was great. The facility the home was always clean when they closed up at the end of the day. The exterior was always clean, even though there was a dumpster, all the trash was in the dumpster. The neighbors, which was really important to us, we never got one single complaint. And in fact, before building even began, without my knowledge, they went to every single homeowner on our block that could be impacted by construction and introduced themselves, gave them their business card, gave them their cell number, and said if there's any issues, if you see anything at all, please call us.
And it was also very impressive that he was able to take some of our crazy ideas. Like Brad and I knew that we wanted a rooftop deck. How many people in Dallas have a rooftop deck with a full kitchen? And they could, conceptualize that and then make it come to life. So that was awesome to me.
James and his team far exceeded our expectations. The quality of the build is amazing. We must have had 100 to 200 people up on our deck for a mini fundraiser the other day, and it was silent downstairs. You couldn't even hear people downstairs. The other part of it is a historic home, and it has a certain flow and feel to it. So can he help us keep that sense of home, some degree of formality, but also warmth, so that it didn't feel like it was renovated. It didn't feel like a new home, but it also didn't feel like a museum. So Elizabeth had suggested that we have arches as we lead from the main home into in the area that we were renovating. And far from pushing back, James went with it, and then she and James spent a lot of time designing and discussing what that might look like. James was really thoughtful, not only with the engineering piece, but he was really a study of the home.
I'm really proud of the master bathroom because we had just a tiny closet beforehand, And with James, we completely moved the master bathroom, and now it's just like my spa, my sanctuary. And of course, I love the rooftop deck. That is, we've had dinner out there multiple times. We entertain out there. We were watching TV and watching a movie out there on Friday night. It's just where we live now, is outside on our rooftop deck.
I think the flow is amazing, but having seen what he did and visiting the home almost every day in terms of the bones of the home and how he built it and built it properly was really, really impressive.
Yeah, so when we were done with the project, it completely exceeded my expectations. The things like flow, you can't picture that when it's studs and no walls. Like I couldn't even I had no conception how that was going to end up. But I love it. I mean, I love our house. I love what we did. I love what James did.